My name is Charles Crumpley. I'm the editor and publisher of the San Fernando Valley Business Journal, and it's my pleasure to be here today as we celebrate the excellence of our region's finest chief financial officers and human resource professionals. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our partner for their generosity and involvement in putting this event together. So thank you to our presenting sponsor, the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics at California State University, Northridge. Thank you for your sponsorship. Today, we're here to honor the achievements of financial executives and human resource professionals who've been nominated for their outstanding work. Most of them have joined us today, it looks like, and I want to name this year's finalists so we can recognize each one. And they are Angela Davanzo of Cadence Communication and Research, Amanda Delzer of Payment Cloud, Aaron Eichberg of Eichberg Associates, Paul Erickson of Contemporary Services Corporation, Matthew Getty of Palms and Associates, Bob Greider of Vargo Physical Therapy, Linda Harris, Jorgensen HR, Petra Hatzisberger of Mission Valley Bank, Vicente Jaramillo of Sun Hill Properties, Chantel Mariotti, Executive HR Consulting Group, Michael Matzner of Ely Commercial Real Estate, Sona Mikayelian of Payment Cloud, Nayeli Prigo of Golden Hippo, Elizabeth Salazar of Antelope Valley Hospital, and Ted Sirota of Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital. Congratulations to each and every one of you. We read the nomination forms, and it's clear that you all are among the most talented and the most successful professionals in our whole Valley area. And that's why you are the finalists. And I'm in awe of your great work, and we're truly honored to recognize you. More and more, our financial stewards and our human resource professionals are called on to meet today's challenges. The pandemic, of course, added a whole new layer of troubles on them. But beyond the pandemic, they also must navigate the more and more rules, more and more regulations, and various other challenges. Our organizations depend more than ever on the astute work of these important executives. Now, in a few moments, we'll identify 10 of these amazing people to get a special honor. But first, let's take about 10, 12 minutes or so to discuss a few of the issues of the day regarding CFOs and HR professionals. So to do that, I'd like to briefly introduce Chandra Subramaniam. He's the Dean of the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics at California State University, Northridge. And thank you for being our presenting sponsor, Chandra, and welcome. You know, Chandra, you deal with many area financial executives, of course, and the Nazarian College is involved with training business and financial people. So you have a great seat from which to view the landscape. So as everybody knows, the pandemic caused problems of all kinds for most organizations. But now that we're coming out, what are some of the big challenges that CFOs and, for that matter, HR people are facing post-pandemic?
Thank you, Charlie, by the way. First, I just wanted to say a great afternoon to all the attendees and the awardees today. Welcome to this event. This is actually a good question to raise because we are coming out at the end of the pandemic. But before I say anything, I want to sort of talk about it the best I can, given the fact that we have got many CFOs here and chief HR officers here who are sort of living it on a daily basis. You know, they are going through those struggles. And also I want to acknowledge the expertise on the subject in this room. So in my opinion, actually, one of the most obvious things that are facing the CFOs is actually from the finance stuff is the task of stabilizing the finances, as well as anticipating and planning for any growth that the company has, especially as the US economy and the world economy is starting to grow. This will include things like reviewing the current investments, incorporating new technologies, and working closely with HR to align workforce cost. And at this point in time, that particular part of it is getting a little more complicated, especially as we find more and more employees preferring to pivot to remote work compared to pre-pandemic levels. The same employee pivot, by the way, is also affecting HR function, related to how do you make sure that you have good employee engagement, good employee performance measures, while some of your employees may be working remotely. We also have an issue related to office repopulation and space needs. So I'll come back to some of these themes again later, but I wanted to make sure before I end this part of it is to say, while we are trying to take steps to respond to some of the current short-term issues, we as CFOs and human resource professionals also need to think about the long-term success. How do we continue to manage the cash flow, reduce the reduction in terms of any risk that we are going to be taking, reassessing, and it's become more important on the health and safety measures and well-being of our employees.
Thank you. That's good and interesting. Yeah, financial stability or stabilizing the business is certainly one of the big issues going forward. But let me ask you this: what do you think businesses will do post-pandemic?
Well, from my perspective, actually, this question in some sense depends on the industry. But prior research already has found, actually, by the way, that COVID-19 has already accelerated three broad trends that was already happening slowly, but now it's sort of exacerbated it. We expect, by the way, moving forward to have what we call a new normal with remote and virtual work, as I had mentioned earlier. In fact, by the way, Gallup actually did a poll several months ago and found out that about 60% of the US employees that were doing work remotely because of the pandemic actually would prefer to actually stay doing remote work even when the pandemic goes away and the restrictions are lifted. So it's sort of now we have to figure out now how do we deal with that. In fact, by the way, even at CSUN, by the way, we have found that several of our employees and staff are actually asking for more telecommuting work. But telecommuting work actually has other issues related to it in terms of how do we deal with flexible workspaces, how do we deal with office space needs, what happens when we have fewer staff in the office, especially when you're dealing with a company that's more customer facing, right? Can you do in terms of remote work in that case? There are other issues that will come up in terms of travel, where video conferencing now, people have got a lot more comfortable with it, and therefore you're going to find less need for business travel, affecting businesses like hotels and motels and travel industry. So it's going to change how we have to operate depending on the industry that we are in. The other issue about COVID-19, it has actually propelled faster adoption on a company basis on technology and automation. And so in essence, many of the companies have deployed, because they want to reduce workplace density, they deployed more automation and AI in warehouses, grocery stores, and several other places. But the question is, does this continue? Now that you have deployed the automation, you have to decide how you want to continue doing that. The third piece that we have seen actually come up is actually how the mix of occupations that we have is shifting. Workers are transitioning to new occupations, but if they're going to be transitioned as workers come into the company, the question becomes, how do you decide as a company to upskill or rescale the employees' skills that they have coming in? So, and on the other hand, we also have a bigger demand, and we've been noticing it even within the college, a demand for workers in STEM and healthcare occupations. And it's expected to grow much faster than at pre-pandemic levels. So all of that will change how companies operate. But one last thing I want to leave with, by the way, is we knew about the past year has had lots of social unrest. And given that social unrest, many firms are presently trying to figure out, and there's greater recognition, commitment, and an increased focus on diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. And also beyond that, just how to make sure that we are continuing to safely have our employees' well-being accounted for.
Great. Well, thank you for that insight. Appreciate it. So let me ask you this, something I'm curious about, and this is probably unknowable at this point and maybe unfair for me to ask you, but I'll ask it anyway. As a result of the pandemic or during the pandemic, do you think our Valley area fared better, worse, about the same as other regions or other areas of California?
Thank you for that, by the way. This was actually, I had to really think about it in terms of saying, okay, what does that mean in terms of how we fared? Because we haven't really collected any data yet, but I can give you my first sort of views about what's going on with this issue. Our local small business were hit very hard during the pandemic. In fact, those lucky enough to were able to get some stimulus funds have been able to survive. Many of them closed, and we had actually talked to several of them that had to close because of this reason. Part of the reason our valley, in my view, by the way, in response to your question, whether they are worse or better off, I think we are actually going to be worse off than the rest of the state. And I'll give you the reason why that I believe it's going to be true. Partly it's because if you look at San Fernando Valley, the LAEDC actually did a particular study to find out what the amount of self-employment we have in different areas. The San Fernando Valley actually has a 20% of our population being self-employed, which means they're running very, very small businesses. In comparison, actually, the statewide self-employment rate is about 14%, and it's 11% for the country. Small in every case, by the way, most cases, changes in economics, by the way, and downturns in economy always affect small businesses worse than larger businesses. We can sort of withstand any of the shifts. However, I'll give you one positive note about it. We have in the college a small business consulting program. We saw actually a significant influx of applications requesting assistance to get through the hardships of the pandemic. Many of our students who are what we call technologically, they are very conversant with technology. Actually, much of the advice did revolve around pivoting to more digital space to continue and maintain the businesses. So I'll give you one great example, which is a local gourmet ice cream shop, which is in our valley, who owned by CSUN alumni, who found out that he had lost most of his revenues because he was totally dependent on foot traffic. So with the assistance of the business college and the students and faculty supporting him, they decided to ask him to join an online marketplace for regional and artisanal foods across the nation. Following that advice, by the way, the ice cream shop was able to increase their revenue and actually geographical reach over that period, even though their brick and mortar store was pretty much closed for the period. Right. So I think that saved the business, and they will grow given that now that they have got an online visibility. So I think we can do certain things, but in response to your question, I think we will have to grow out of it, but I think the suffering is going to be there for some time.
Yeah. Good. That's interesting. Okay, Chandra, one final question, and let's get away from the pandemic. Everybody wants to get away from it. Let's talk about big trends. What kinds of trends have you seen for CFOs and HR people in recent years? In other words, what do companies and organizations want now from these executives that maybe they didn't want in the past?
So, Charlie, I want to change the question slightly a little bit because I'm not sure there is things that they want now that they did not want in the past. The changes are coming. It just was slowly coming over time. That's just shifted significantly. So I'll tell you what has changed over time, by the way. In the last maybe a decade or so, CFOs have had to adapt and change on a raft of different things. So I'll give you some examples. They had to deal with lots of changing regulations, enhanced government requirements. They had to deal with getting increasingly comfortable with new technology and automation. The one thing that was also new in the last few years has been they had to step into the limelight to become prominent communicators and influencers. In fact, by the way, when McKinsey did a report several years ago, they said 4 in 10 CFOs now actually spend most of their time in stuff that's outside of the finance area, dealing with strategy, transformations, investor relations, risk management. So we know that's changing. I think, and I read some of the bio of some of our awardees here, you will see that they have broadened out that skill set, right? But from a what CFOs do now going forward, I will tell you some of the skills that they need, and that's part of what we do in the college, is they're going to need a high level of financial competence. They're going to need deploy strong analytical skills to meet challenges. They have to be master communicators to be able to sell their story, tell clearly, advocate for the business case for the range of diverse stakeholders. Furthermore, they must be able to embrace the latest technology to boost productivity and foster innovation while maintaining the highest standard of risk management and governance. So I think the work has just expanded. On the other hand, we also have HR professionals here, and their work has also changed slightly given the pandemic and what we are looking at. They now have to return to a workforce growth, especially at a time when hiring has become a lot more difficult. We've been hearing about all of the cases where firms cannot hire. Every time I go out, I see hiring signs out there. We know Americans just cancel a number of their flights because they don't have personnel. And so hiring is going to be very difficult. And how we hire is going to be important in terms of trying to get the best employees. They also have to, if we provide more opportunities for employees to work remotely, then the question becomes, how do we deal with employee engagement and productivity? Especially now, by the way, during this pandemic, employee burnout has become all too common. And so the question is, how do we bring them back and to make sure that they're happy with where they are? We also have to, especially in the last year or so, have to deal with, it's urgent, by the way, based on diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, for especially after all this divisiveness we've been hearing. So based on that DEI, by the way, Gallup made a survey of HR personnel recently, but 2 months ago, and they found that 75% of all HR personnel actually said DEI is somewhat critical or very critical for future financial performance and sustainability. So this has now become the thing that we are all looking at. Doesn't matter which organization we are in. But at the same time, I'm going to say, as I finish this off, I'm confident, by the way, the awardees that we have here are going to be able to find the right balance. And they're going to positively impact their respective companies if they keep track of 3 things, in my view, by the way: people, process, and performance. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. That's really really interesting. I'm sorry, I was writing down your notes because, or taking notes on what you said, because it's really it's really interesting. Thanks again, Chandra, for your insight and your thoughts. You know, you really do have a great position because you're in so many, you talk to so many businesses, and of course you have great background knowledge and insight. So let's get on with our award, shall we? So Chandra and I will announce our 10 honorees. And if we call your name as an honoree, you're welcome to speak for a minute if you'd like. Not a requirement, but if you'd like, certainly may. And let me take just a few more seconds to tell you a little bit more about Chandra. Let me introduce him a little bit more formally. He's going to present our first 5 awards, by the way. So Chandra Subramaniam is the Dean of the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics at CSUN. He has an MBA and he earned a PhD in accounting from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. He has taught at universities in Shanghai and Beijing, among other places. And he once told me that the best part of his job is at commencement, when he gets to see the many happy and relieved faces of new graduates as they prepare to enter the world of work armed with the tools that they need. So again, Chandra will present our first 5 awards. So with that, take it away, Chandra.
Thank you, Charlie, by the way. So let me again, by the way, say it's a pleasure to be here today as a presenting sponsor, and it's an honor to actually recognize our top CFOs and HR professionals. Companies cannot be run without them. They're taking more and more added duties. But I also wanted to say that, like them, by the way, David Nazarian College of Business and Economics transitioned to virtual environments when the pandemic hit, and we've been forced to live with it for quite a while now. It's been a little over about, what, a year and 3 months. and we'll continue doing it for at least till the summer. But in the meantime, even with that, as many of our awardees have found out, we continue working, trying to figure out different ways of making sure our community that we work with continue to function effectively. So I want to talk a little bit, and as Charlie knows, by the way, anytime you give me the floor to talk about the College of Business, I'm a happy man. So I'll give you a few examples of what we have done really well this year, by the way. So we have, as you know, as many people know, one of the largest volunteer income tax clinics that we run. And given that we had to go virtual, we got special permission from the IRS to run our VITA program pretty much virtually. And we were able to get this year, during the tax season, about more than 220 students to support and provide services 7 days a week to more than 6,000 low-income taxpayers in the Valley. Now, what is impressive about this, and this is what I always love about, is that clinic actually helped taxpayers reclaim more than $10 million in tax refunds, EITFs, and tax preparation fees. Where does all this money go? It all comes back to the Valley. That is the best part of it. Additionally, I'm actually proud, by the way, to say the VITA program that we run is the largest program in the state, and it's also the largest academic institution program in the country. So you can see what we will do in the college. The other piece that I think is also community-based that we have been very proud and happy to grow, we also, and that is our, as I mentioned earlier, our business consulting activities by faculty and students that is supported. So I do have to say that much of this activity we have been doing, growing that program, by the way. And so, but it's also supported by the WO1 Foundation, and I need to give them thanks for it, and the Wells Fargo Foundation that provides us funds in order for us to support the community. The other piece, as I remember, as pieces of things that I've chatted about, the pandemic also accelerated the importance of data, technology, and the need of employees who we train to accurately analyze, transform, and apply the data for decision-making. So as a consequence, we have actually created a new major and a minor in business analytics with hopefully a graduate program coming up soon. So, but before I end on this one, I want to take a few highlights. As many of you may or may not know, we are the 9th largest ASSB recognized college of business in the country, with about 7,000 students graduating more than 2,000 a year. The Business College was ranked number 31 by Money Magazine for value and quality in the country. Our financial planning program, if you're interested in taking it, is ranked number 6 by Wealth Management Magazine. And every year we get several top 10 recognitions for our accounting program. But one thing that always tells me about how, when we graduate students, how comfortable they are with the work that they do and how they move up in the world, is more than 20% of the managing partners of the 100 largest public accounting firms that we have in LA County are managed by Nazarin alumni. So that has a huge impact. So at this point, I wanted to sort of say, if you want to learn more about what we do, please visit us at any time. I'd love to take you on a tour and talk to you a lot more about what we do. So with that, by the way, let me turn to the first award. It is for the CFO of the Year among nonprofits. And the winner, with a drum roll, is Ted Sirota, the Senior Vice President and CFO for the Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital in Santa Clarita. Ted guided Henry Mayo through financial turbulence of the pandemic, which was hard on all hospitals, but particularly so on independent community hospitals. He not only employed deft financial management and rigorous cost control, but he handled the incredibly complex process of applying for government assistance. In the midst of all that, by the way, Ted also managed to refinance Henry Mayo's publicly held bonds. His nominator wrote, and I quote, "Sirota ensured Henry Mayo's survival and financial stability." That's high praise indeed. By the way, congratulations, Ted. Would you like to say a few words? Ted, the mic's yours. Is he here?
I heard that Ted was on his way, but he may not be here now, or may not be here yet. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on his behalf?
Ted is online right now.
He is.
Oh.
Ted, can you hear us?
I don't know if he knows how to unmute his.
Ted, can you unmute? Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we go ahead, Chandra, and we'll come back to Ted.
We'll come back to Ted. So going on to our second award, it's for CFO of the Year in the large private company category. And the winner is, drum roll, Matthew Getty of Palms and Associates in Woodland Hills. After Matthew joined Palms 7 years ago, he delivered a significant increase in profit and cash flow. Furthermore, his expertise was evident last year as he quickly transitioned Palms to work from home operations. That's what I call deafness, to move and shift. David Palms, the CEO, said this, and I quote, "Matthew is a rare CFO who combines financial expertise with strategic vision and superior operational capability. Matthew's leadership was instrumental in assisting Palms and Associates to navigate financial growth challenges to become one of the most preeminent risk management organizations in the United States. Congratulations, Matthew Getty. Would you like to say a few words?"
Yes. First of all, thank you so much. I'm honored to be recognized among so many business leaders. I'm grateful to my team, my colleagues, my family for giving me the opportunity to shape this incredible organization, Palms. As trusted partners in risk management, the last year has challenged all of us at Palms, but we are excited about the future, continuing to educate our clients and friends about ways to reduce risk so that they can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, Matthew, and I'm glad you're here. The next one on our CFO list is the category of emerging private companies. In this category, we are going to be honoring two winners. The first winner is Bob Grider, the CFO of Vargo Physical Therapy in Westlake Village. Since 2005, when Bob joined the company, Vargo Physical Therapy has tripled its employment, going from about 50 to 155 people. And Bob has managed that growth, overseeing the financial operation as well as hiring, payroll, HR, lease administration, vendor management, and compliance, and other matters. He's got a broad scope. He switched many processes from paper-based to electronic. And during this pandemic, by the way, he closely monitored cash flow and worked to retain as much staff as possible. And now that we are coming out of the pandemic, Vargo is ready for growth. Congratulations, Bob. Please say a few words if you're here.
Sure. Well, certainly thanks to the San Fernando Valley Business Journal for creating this award to acknowledge the efforts of everybody who's been nominated. I would like to thank Steve Davis and the UBS Davis Group for nominating me for this award. It's certainly appreciated. And I would like to thank Jeff Vargo, who's our CEO and owner, for trusting in me to run the company on a day-to-day basis. And it's been enjoyable seeing the company grow from when I started in 2005 and forming it into the company we can feel proud of when we walk in the door every day. And as a plug to CSUN, I would like to say that about 40% of our physical therapists are from the CSUN physical therapy program. So I thought I'd throw that in there to acknowledge Chandra on that. But thank you very much for the awards. Much appreciated.
Congratulations, Bob. So moving on, our next award is for CFO of the Year in the same category, Emerging Private Companies. And the honoree, Paul Erickson of Contemporary Services Corporation in Northridge. Just so that you know, Paul is a Nazarian alumni. So Paul, by the way, has played a key leadership role at a multinational liquidation company. He gained broad experience at the company as the company liquidated companies spanning hospitals, oil, consumer goods, retail, and financial services, among others. Now he's helping to improve everything from staffing to operations and financial performance. Congratulations, Paul. I hear and I understand Paul is not going to be here. Is there anyone here who can represent Paul? Okay. With that, let's move forward. Congratulations, Paul. Our next award is for CFO of the Year in the Emerging Public Company category. And the honoree is, drum roll, Michael Metzner of Ely Commercial Real Estate in Encino. Before Mike joined Ely in 2014, Mike had worked in a property management for more than 30 years and worked as a controller for a local company for 25 of those years. What's more, he has a real estate license, so he really understands the business. His nominator wrote, and I quote, I love reading these things, by the way, Mike has a strong work ethic and is loyal, dependable, trustworthy, and highly regarded by his friends and colleagues. Congratulations, Mike. Please say a few words if you're here.
Ooh, very nice. Are we on?
Mike, yes, we're on.
Yes,
Mike
you
had to
are.
step away, but here's our CEO, Todd Nathanson, to speak on his behalf.
Yeah, as usual, Mike has been called to duty, but I can tell you very fondly that he's very proud to accept the award. And on behalf of the whole company, we're extremely proud of his efforts.
Wonderful. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
It's
please
a nice-
pass our congrats on to Michael. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And congrats again. And thank you, Chandra. It's you know what? It really is impressive how important you have become to our local business community since you came on board. That was what, about 3 years ago?
Yeah,
Something
thank
like that.
you.
So it's really impressive. So thank you for your presentation. So now it's my pleasure to name the next 5 honorees, next 5 awardees. By the way, each one of our honorees will receive a crystal keepsake. You can display it on your desk or on a shelf or use it as a paperweight, and we'll get those to you in the next week or 2. Okay, back to the awards. So first up for human resources is in the emerging private company category, and the winner is Linda Harris of Jorgensen HR. Linda began working with Karen Jorgensen in 1998, later became a partner, and then purchased the business in 2003. Now, Linda is president and leads a team of HR consultants working with more than 100 employers, assisting them with their HR challenges, including compliance, employee relations, policies, procedures, and employee engagement. What's particularly impressive is that Linda is a resource for 12 employment law firms. Among other matters, they rely on her to conduct workplace investigations. She also leads the diversity, equity, and inclusion practice of the firm, which has become, of course, very important, and she provides training for clients. So congratulations, Linda Harris. Linda, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Charlie. And I'd like to thank the San Fernando Valley Business Journal for this very special award and recognition. This is truly an honor. I'd also like to thank Barry Cohn for the nomination and for our amazing team at Jorgensen HR for all of their support and their efforts, particularly over the past year. We all know how challenging that has been, and they have just been incredible. And those of you that have worked with any of them, you know that as well. So again, thank you very much, and I appreciate this so much.
Great. Well, congrats again, Linda. That's great. Our next award is for HR of the Year in the large private company category, and the honoree is Vicente Jaramillo of Sun Hill Properties. Now, Vicente is Vice President of Corporate HR at Sun Hill Properties, which owns the Hilton Universal City, our area's largest hotel. He oversees all the human resource aspects for Sun Hill's hotels in California and in Colorado. Vicente has been instrumental in working directly with the CEO, Mark Davis, and the executive committee members. Hotels, of course, were among the companies that got whacked by COVID. 80% of his workforce was laid off. Vicente led the company through these difficult times by making the well-being of the company team members a priority. The periodic company-wide Zoom broadcast he orchestrated kept employees informed and allowed them to work together and strengthen their relationships. Now, in addition, Vicente has been heading the transformation of the company to electronic format platforms that will give the company and all the team members an edge in the way that HR functions in complex environments going forward. So congratulations, Vicente Jaramillo. Would you like to say a few words?
Absolutely, thank you. It feels so special because HR is usually the department that recognizes everybody else. So it's special to be recognized, and especially among this great group of professionals. I really have to thank my team and my boss, Mark Davis, that has led the company in such a wonderful way and gave me the opportunity to lead the HR portion and to get in close proximity with our teams, especially during this difficult year of the pandemic. I think when you have a good group of people that surround you and a good leadership next to you that work along the way with you, your job becomes easier. And so I'm very proud of all of them, and I'm very humble with the recognition. So thank you so much.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, again, congrats, Vicente. Our next award is for HR of the Year in the Emerging Public Company category, and the honoree is Petra Hatzisberger of Mission Valley Bank. Now, Petra rallied all the employees to stay positive and productive during the pandemic, which, as we all know, was no easy task. Throughout the crisis, Human Resources continued to send employees resource information, both work-related and non-work-related, just to keep spirits high. She even gave every employee the opportunity to sign up for headspace.com, an app for mediation, exercise, sleep, for stress, and more. And I'm hoping Petra will send that on to me. Congratulations, Petra Hatzisberger. Would you like to say a few things? Would you like to say anything? Need to unmute.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm honored. I'm speechless right now. First of all, I would like to thank the sponsors and the San Fernando Business Journal for putting together the award, the ceremony. This is a really special time. The pandemic turned the world around, turned all HR professionals around. Our role changed a lot, but I could not have done what I did the last 14, 16 months, I don't know, if it wouldn't have been for our team. I serve 78 employees and they are all special. They make me who I am every day. Because of them, I get up every morning. No, not only because of them, but because of them, I enjoy going to the office and doing what I do. So thank you so much for just being there. My team is unique, my team is special, and I'm excited to be their HR professional every day. But I would like to say a very, very special thank you to Tamara Gurney, our president and CEO, Jeff Watson, our chief operating officer, Linda Russo, chief administration officer at Mission Valley Bank, and Anthony Chuan, he's our chief financial officer. I'm part of an amazing team and they let me do what I do every day. And they are okay with some creative ideas I bring to the table. Thank you so much, everybody at Mission Valley Bank. You're a very special team and I'm happy to be part of it. Thank you. And thank you so much, Carrie Burrell. Thank you.
Well, congrats again, Petra. That's really great. Our next award is for HR of the Year in the Large Public Company category, and the honoree is Elizabeth Salazar of Antelope Valley Hospital. Now, this past year has been an unprecedented year for healthcare, with ever-changing employer rules for healthcare workers and safety guidelines for all. Her nominator wrote that Liz Salazar was instrumental in creating a stable environment for employees. She was active in the retention and hiring of employees, which allowed the organization as a whole to be secure in the knowledge that it had enough employees at a critical time. And of course, that was absolutely critical for a hospital in this crisis. In addition, she offered guidance for employees with family issues or in helping them with their work from home accommodations. What's more, she inherited, let's say, a less than ideal situation within the Human Resources Department. Yet she was able to lead her team through the transition period, and she somehow finds the time to coach management and has developed into I'm told she's developed into a person of influence in the hospital. So congratulations, Elizabeth Salazar. Would you like to say anything?
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. I am incredibly humbled with this recognition. I want to thank the San Fernando Valley Business Journal. I'm not really good at, getting recognized for things, so if my voice is shaky, it's because I'm nervous. But I would like to thank, pretty much everybody that played a part in this. Specifically, also from my team, I believe my leadership is on the line as well. Ed Mirzabegian, he's my Chief Executive Officer, and the reason why I always want to excel is because he sets the bar high for us, and he makes it easy to want to accomplish more and more and do great things. Our hospital fared really well in comparison to many other hospitals during the pandemic, and it was because of the leadership. And I was incredibly motivated to be that leader for the hospital here. So I would like to thank you all for the recognition. And I don't credit anything without my team, because even though, yes, it's true, I inherited an interesting situation, my department was great, and they knew how to keep everything going like a well-run or well-oiled machine. So I am very grateful, and my credit is theirs.
Okay, great. Well, congratulations, Elizabeth. That was a big task. So you certainly deserve the recognition and the honor. So congrats again. Before I give our final award, I just wanted to go back to our very first honoree, Ted Sirota, and he was not with us at the time. I was told he was on his way. I think Ted has joined us. Ted, are you there? Ted, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Okay, I'm sorry, maybe I was mistaken. So I tell you what, let's just go on to our final award, which is our Rising Star, in our Rising Star category. And now this award is given to a person who may not have been in the industry for many years, but who has demonstrated great promise. And this year, our Rising Star Award goes to Nayeli Prigo, who's Director of Human Resources at Golden Hippo in Woodland Hills, which also gets the award for the best named company in the Valley area, I think. Nayeli Prigo has been instrumental in growing this startup from a handful of employees to nearly 900 in just a few years. What's particularly impressive is the high quality of employees she hires. And the nominator said she's created a company that's high-spirited and fun to work at. And her nominator also wrote that Nayeli has demonstrated superior competence by performing so well in such a challenging environment. So Nayeli, would you like to say a few words?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
There
Great.
I just want to, thank everyone for the nomination. It was a tough year, 2020, but our facility did a fantastic job of doing what we do as HR professionals, right? Which is facilitating different programs, making sure that our staff and our employees are safe. And, I just want to thank everybody.
Well, congratulations, Nayeli. That's really great. And listen, I don't know if all the recipients can hear, but let's go ahead and give one big round of applause to all of our finalists and also for our nominees as well. They're all honorees. Congratulations to each and every one of you. We need you all now more than ever. Once again, I want to thank our sponsor for our ongoing partnership and support for this event. That's the David Nazarian College at CSUN. Don't forget
about testing positive with the have to quarantine.
Okay,
that'll kill us.
Someone needs to mute. Okay, so thank you, appreciate it. Please don't forget to pick up the July 5th issue of the Business Journal, July 5th. That's when you'll be able to read all about the honorees. And thank you again for attending today. We look forward to hosting you next year. We hope in person. Well, we're sure it'll be in person next year. Hope that the rest of your day is good. Thanks again, Chandra, for your help and your assistance. And I tell you what, I'm going to sign off, but I want to leave the link open for a few minutes so that If folks want to talk among themselves, they're certainly free to. Thanks again for attending. Congrats again to all of the honorees, and hope to see you next year. Thanks again.
Thank you, Charlie.